All right, Venters, here is how the scam works. Undocumented workers go into the DMV because they need to get their driver's license. Because they're undocumented, they take a fake ID, a fake social security card, and then they also take a utility bill. They go in there and they get to bypass the line itself, and they go up to two workers there and they give them $200, and for this $200 they get a driver's license, no questions asked. The DMV in Louisville, Kentucky has an employee named Melissa Mormon. Melissa Mormon saw this happening and knew this was no bueno. So she actually went to the Louisville, Kentucky DMV to complain she was a whistleblower. Come to find out, they were actually using her employee ID to actually do these fraudulent, shady transactions.
My ID was being used in order to pin me into this scam.
Her whistleblower letter, dated October 29, 2024, warned management that her employee credentials were being used, even when she wasn't at work. Investigators later said that her ID popped up in more than 2,000 shady transactions.
They actually took my phone and looked through all my messages. They looked through my Cash App. They looked through my Zelle, just to prove they know I didn't wasn't involved in any of this business picture.
To give you an idea of how many fraudulent IDs were given under her employee ID number, it's in the area of 1,900, just basically shy of 2,000. When she told her employer about this, instead of getting rewarded and thanked, right, she actually got fired.
As soon as she tells them everything she knows, she gives them everything she can to exonerate herself, she gets fired.
But instead of clearing her name, Melissa Mormon says she got branded the culprit.
She wants her name cleared and she wants her job back.
I want to clear my name. I want to let people know out there that I wasn't involved in any type of legal activity.
Now, the reason I mention this case is because it doesn't sound like that big of a deal, right? Illegals coming in and paying $200 under the table to get their license done, right? Sounds like something that probably happens all around the country, and it's probably happened many, many times before. But the reason it's really important to me is, I don't know if you guys heard about this case. It's involving a Florida man who's originally from India. He's 28-year-old Harjinder Singh. This guy tried doing an illegal U-turn, I believe, on the freeway there in Florida, and he actually unalived 3 drivers. 3 people lost their lives because of this guy.
All right, an illegal migrant has now been charged after his truck jackknifed a minivan while making an illegal U-turn, killing the 3 people inside the van. The migrant, who is believed to have crossed the border illegally in 2018, was granted a commercial driver's license by the state of California. He now faces vehicular homicide charges and deportation.
Now check this out. Washington State gave this guy a license. New Mexico failed to recognize that he doesn't speak English. In order to have a CDL license, you have to pass not only driving tests, but English requirement tests as well. In 2023, he got a limited CDL license from the state of California. So here's this guy that doesn't understand the rules of the road, because he failed those tests and assessments as well. Doesn't know how to speak English, so wherever he gets pulled over, he's not going to be able to communicate with anybody, let alone the police, right? And then on top of that, he ends up taking 3 people's lives. He was actually working for a trucking company called White Hot Carriers, Inc. They're based out of California. Their insurance was revoked, meaning they can't even work in California. So we're talking shady company, shady driver, people looking the other way to get these people licenses so they can work in this country, and it actually is starting to cost people their lives. If you have 1,900 plus fraudulent licenses given via your temporary employee number and you're a temp, your employee number and you're a temp worker, that sounds to me like she was hired specifically so people could actually run this con, and then in the future, if it came back, it would actually come back to Melissa Mormon. So my thinking is there's some really shady stuff here, because it's one thing to do something under the table and illegally. It's another thing to try to get your coworker to take the rap for you. Here's why I believe Melissa Mormon. Number one, she wants to clear her name. Number two, she wants her job back. And number three, people that are guilty of shit usually don't hire a lawyer and try to prove their innocence. So in that regard, I really think she's innocent, and I'm hoping she actually wins this case. Now here's the thing, she's gonna probably end up suing the DMV for quite a bit of money. Here's the problem I have. If you would have made, let's say, $2 million in your lifetime working, and all of a sudden you sue some company for 10, 15, 20 million, and the only person that ends up losing out of it is the people, right? I'm not a big fan of that. If she's suing the DMV, correct me if I'm wrong, but any money she wins, isn't that ultimately going to be paid out by taxpayers? So my thinking is we need to get rid of some of these fraudulent lawsuits. Is this a fraudulent lawsuit? No. She should be able to sue, and she should be able to get a really good settlement. But when I'm talking a really good settlement, I'm thinking like 6 or 7 figures, not 8, 9, 10 figures. And it seems to me like people always end up winning the lottery at the expense of us taxpayers. Like, it's really cool when you see some injustice done to people and you know they're going to actually sue and get some money and be taken care of. But when you contemplate the idea that this is part of the money spill that our government has because they're constantly having to pay off these large lawsuits, it ends up hurting everybody. So here's what I'd like to know. Does anybody agree with me? If something bad is done to you and your family members and you win a lawsuit, I don't think we should have $100 million lawsuits. I don't even think we should have $10 million lawsuits. I think you should get maybe 1 or 2 million tops, regardless of the lawsuit. Let me know if you agree or disagree. My thinking is this: everybody wants to win the lottery. Why should certain people that are victimized win the lottery while other people get the short end of the stick? Right? If you're not going to let everybody that gets victimized and cheated win, then you should never be able to win that much. Same with this Giuliani thing. If you're a Democrat, you probably hate Rudy Giuliani. But for you to sue him for literally every dollar and give it to his victim, you should never be able to totally zero somebody's life. And that's what I feel like people do. And you should never be able to sue public entities, which is basically us. You should never be able to sue us as the people for hundreds of millions of dollars. There's no way you can validate that to me. This person, for example, was probably making, I'm just guessing, $35,000, $45,000 a year. She doesn't need no $100 million lawsuit. Give her 500 grand, let her go about her day. It's so weird, my beloved state of Arizona, because it's one of these times of the year where the heat can't escape. So even though you see me and I'm enveloped in shade, it's not like a cool, hey, this is a 70-degree evening. Man, it's 110 degrees out here, and it's been that way every day. Here's the problem with what the Louisville DMV is saying. If she was just a temporary worker, how the hell would any temporary worker be able to come in to a job and establish a con scam that elaborate? Because let's face it, it's not like she saw 50 or 60 people and did the scam with a half dozen of them. You would literally have to know 1,900 people that need to get bogus licenses. So I have a feeling this is going to open up Pandora's box, and I'm hoping that in some way, shape, or form, the feds can actually start looking into this, because wouldn't you guys be awfully disappointed if you found out that our DMVs all around the country were actually just handing out licenses to people that didn't really deserve it or have the knowledge to do anything with it? You ever watch these, there are scenes of people on little scooters in Thailand, and they don't have any lines in the street or anything, and you see millions of scooters just right there with people that are walking, with animals, with buses, and these endless scooters. And every now and then, these people on these scooters get in horrific accidents. They don't show it very often, right? But it happens all the time, because they're not the best drivers. To know that there's people like that come in the country, and that they can go into a DMV and somebody there behind the desk will sell out our country for $200. I mean, my God, does nobody have any shame? You know? And then here's the thing. If they did that 1,900 times, that means someone in there made a lot of money doing this. I hope they ultimately get caught and punished with some good jail time. See, this is the thing. Everyone says, oh my God, America, we in jail, we put so many people in jail. No, quit listening to that bullshit. We need to put more people in jail. Why, Jesse? Because we have a lot of criminals in this country. And when you decide to go the route of, hey, let's not punish them, let's try to reform them, all you're doing is punishing us. So again, rah, rah, shish, boom, bah. I hope this lady wins a little money for her time and trouble, and I hope she gets to reclaim her name and her respect. But don't do it at the cost of $100 million for us, where your lawyer is going to take home a third of it. You end up finding out in a lot of these suits, especially if it's a big class action suit, that the only one that ever makes out is the scuzzball lawyer. God, I can't wait for the day when we hear on the news that there are no more lawyers. They've been replaced by ChatGPT. I've never seen a group of more oily people in my life. Oily, sleazy people from the top down. The only lawyers that are worth a damn are pro bono ones, and all the pro bono ones are really, really left-wing whack jobs. So let's get rid of every lawyer. Right now, there's a lawyer that's just struggling to survive, and he's thinking, Jesse, you're such an asshole. You're an asshole too, because you're a lawyer. At Sleeping in the Rain, 4967 says, every DMV should be investigated immediately. I totally agree. Every single one. And if they catch you, even if you did this years ago, you should get in a lot of trouble. Because I have a feeling this happens a lot. At Ghost Recon 4330 says, DOJ should prosecute the person who fired her. Yeah, my thinking is, who wanted to fire her so badly? It must have been because she was on to them. Or we could all be wrong. This could be an elaborate way for this lady to look like she's innocent, hoping for some sort of settlement, when in reality, she might be a big con artist. But I find that hard to believe. What are your guys' guts telling you? Carrie Holtzman says the DMV employee is going to be paid millions by the city council in the upcoming wrongful termination lawsuit. I hope the people who approved her firing are sued as well. So Corey, you're probably right, but let me ask you a question. If this woman for the next 20 years was going to make the equivalent of of 600 or 700 grand, and she can still go work, right? And the charges are going to be dropped against her, do we really need to reward her with multi-millions? Is this really worth a lottery victory? How about here's 400 grand, we're going to clear your name, have a good day. I'm not against settlements. I'm not against people being remunerated for their name being dragged through the mud. But again, if all we do is reward people with 7 and 8 and 9 figure settlements, that doesn't help anybody. It hurts everybody. It really just disgusts me that there's people out there that live really nice, ritzy lives simply because they sued people. It's just really disgusting. Do people deserve to sue? Yes, if they were wronged, they deserve to sue. But should anybody ever win hundreds of millions of dollars? Think about what do you have to do or lose to deserve hundreds of millions of dollars? To me, you got to pretty much lose you and your whole family to deserve something like that. Everyone is eliminated but little Lucy, the brand new baby. Okay, when she turns 18, she gets $100 million. She's the real loser. My God. I get so pissed because, you work hard to pay your bills, and then you find out by somebody being beaten up by the cops or something lame, and all of a sudden they get $85 million. What a joke. Justice Rule says the only criminals I see are her managers, who all need to be investigated for putting our lives in danger for $200. Revoke all of these licenses and jail all the employees involved. I have a feeling no one's going to get jailed for this. What do you guys think? I think this is one of those things that states do, and they look the other way. It's really scandalous. What is the difference between us here in America and crooked USSR that we grew up hearing about? Do you guys remember that? When I was in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, they made it sound like we lived in the land of milk and honey, where everything was great. Meanwhile, the Russians and everything around the world, they were all fraudulent and really despicable. And then as you get older, you realize, I think it's all propaganda. I think we're the country where it's all despicable and full of bullshit. I really do. Adela Cruz says, as a frequent visitor to America's truck stops, due to my work there are many truck drivers unable to speak English. This is a national disaster. That is a national disaster. New Mexico apparently caught this cisgender guy, and he couldn't speak English, and they still let him get a license. Unbelievable. If people are going to constantly look the other way, it must be because there's no punishments being given out for them doing so. Here's a punishment that you should put upon yourself. Since you can't stop eating sugar, and since you've always got excuses, how about you punish yourself by going on a 90-day walking journey with us, a walking challenge? It's hot as hell. And it's weird that I'm out here walking and you're the one that needs to lose weight. Put your shoes on. Start walking with us every day. I love walking, and in this weather when I sweat, there is one thing I like. It makes me feel like I'm losing weight even faster. Put on your shoes, keep walking. If you get a driver's license, get it because you earned it, not because you paid $200 under the table. And do the right thing for once. That's the problem with the world. When given the choice of doing the right or the wrong thing, too many of us are choosing the wrong thing. How can we solve that, Jesse? We can solve that by working on the man or woman in the mirror. Just because the world is making the wrong move doesn't mean you have to. Now go for a walk, and I'll see you tomorrow.